All right, guys, deep breath. Are we ready to talk about this thing? All right. So, this week, our one big thing, we are going to talk about political violence in the context of Wednesday's assassination of right wing activist Charlie Kirk. So, first of all, let's talk about what happened. Around noon, local time at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, Kirk was holding one of his rallies, and at approximately 12:20, as the debate me bro portion of Kirk's event began, one gunshot rang out, which apparently came from the Low C Center, approximately 200 yards away from where Kirk was speaking. Kirk was hit in the neck, probably killing him almost instantly. He was loaded into a private vehicle and taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. FBI was on the scene within 15 minutes, and the videos of the gruesome assassination were all over the internet in about that much time as well. And at 2:40 that afternoon, President Donald Trump himself announced that Kirk had passed. So, who was Charlie Kirk? Kirk was one of the highest profile conservative activists and media personalities in the country and a trusted ally of the president. He was the son of an architect who grew up in an affluent Chicago suburb, briefly attending an Illinois community college before dropping out to devote himself to political activism. He was an avid speaker, touring the country, addressing many Republican events, many of which grew out of the ultra-conservative Tea Party movement, and his social media and his podcast have millions of followers. So, Turning Point USA, he started at age 18 to spread right-wing ideals at liberal-leaning U.S. colleges. He began that organization in 2012 after President Obama's reelection. Its mission at that time was to organize students to, quote, promote the principles of fiscal responsibility, free markets, and limited government. Definitely grew out of the Tea Party movement, had a lot of big right-wing funders from the beginning, has now more than 850 chapters at colleges and universities across the country. Their mission has grown from more of a libertarian free market ideal to more of a Christian nationalist ideal. So before we get in, I want to ask each of you your brief thoughts on Kirk and Turning Point USA, and just, also go ahead and give us your denial of the efficacy of political violence, if you would, please. Denounce that, as we all do. Kurt, go ahead.
I don't know where to begin. I mean, I was not a Charlie Kirk fan whatsoever. He was a bigot. He was a racist. He was a propagandist. He was a liar. He made claims that were so outrageous at times. It was unbelievable. His debating of college students was an actual joke because he never listened to any questions that actually were given to him. He didn't even wait until the questions were finished, and you could tell he had an answer coming because he had a system laid out. And if you want to see the truth behind him, or just realize who he was, he loved to debate unsuspected college students who had legitimate questions. But then Charlie would throw something out them like, describe what a woman is, or do men have uterus, or, just crazy shit. Okay. That would throw the students off because they weren't prepared for that. They thought they were going to get an actual question answered. So this is what happened. And if you want to see him get his lunch handed to him, look at the time that he went to Cambridge and had debates with those students over there. They handed him his lunch because they were prepared for him. So I have no respect for the guy, and the fact that we are trying to, memorialize him as some good dude is beyond belief. And the hate that came from the right immediately after this occurred, and some of the comments that were made, and they were made, okay, they were all over the place. Elon Musk, the left is the party of murder. Laura Loomer, most people will be murdered if the left isn't crushed with the power of the state. Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife. It's a real treat to see all these liberals condemn political violence now. You have blood on your hands. Jesse Waters, whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us, and what are we going to do about it? How much political violence are we going to tolerate? Andrew Tate, a human trafficker, civil war. Okay, these are just some of the things that were said, not to mention what Nancy Mason and others on the political scene said. Immediately attacked the right and attacked the left and blamed it on us without knowing any facts. The felon got on TV that night and did the same thing without knowing any facts whatsoever. They want to talk about political violence and blame it on us. You want to sit down and talk about political violence? Attacks on a certain political ideology? You want to go through the list of people that are on that? I mean, it's unbelievable. But no, I had no respect for Charlie Kirk. And here in my little town of 10,000, we're having a vigil tonight they're having a vigil tonight for him because he's being compared to Martin Luther King.
Yeah, well,
it is absolutely wrong the way that this guy is being glorified. It's wrong, and that's the problem.
Despite all of this stuff, so. and I've got a list a mile long here of heinous things Kirk has said. Despite all of that, he didn't deserve to get shot for it.
Oh no, absolutely not. Absolutely, no one does. No one does.
I just first of all, I wanted to, I don't think Charlie Kirk's family is watching this, but express my deepest condolences to his family, his two young children. I mean, they're going to grow up without a father. And you don't wish that on anybody at all. I was in class when this happened. I got sent the video just on my computer. It popped up and I felt sick right when I saw it. It was absolutely gut-wrenching. I couldn't think about anything for the rest of the day. And it's sad. And I didn't want to try to blame anybody from it, right? I didn't want to try to blame the left or the right because the rhetoric on both sides is extremely divisive and it can cause violence on both sides. But at the end of the day, Charlie Kirk epitomized, debate in the public square. He went to college campuses and he said, if you disagree with me, come to the front of the line. We're going to have a discussion. We're going to have a debate. It may get a little bit heated, just like it has with me and Kurt here, right? But it never went so far as to completely demean somebody or to take away every aspect of who they were. And I didn't agree with Charlie on every single thing that, he said, but I agree with him on some things. And I also believe that he was the voice for young conservatives all across this country who, at a lot of major universities, institutions that are very left-leaning. I'm at one myself. He made people with different perspectives than their professors feel the confidence to be able to speak up and say what they believed, and not be complicit in what their professors are telling them, and to be able to question that authority and say, no, wait, I feel this way, and I should be able to express my viewpoints. He never called for violence against people like that. He wanted people to come together to debate and to truly epitomize what this country was built upon. And to see it just be completely taken away from him like that, and for the bullet casings to say fascist be gone, which, fascism is all about killing your political opponents. So who was the real fascist there? it's just awful. And if we try to blame one side or the other, and we can get into that, and some people are to blame for this rhetoric, we're still not going to get anywhere, because political violence, if you justify it in any way, shape, or form, makes no one safe in this country, left, right, or center. And if we justify it in any way, saying, I didn't really like that guy, so he kind of deserved it, or things like that. One of my friends who goes to GW, her professor, she got up and walked out of her class because right after it happened, her professor said, well, we all saw that coming, and started joking about it with students. So how is that acceptable? We have this anonymous thing called Fizz on my campus. It's at a lot of college campuses. And people are calling Charlie Kirk a deadbeat and are saying terrible, heinous things about his wife and what should happen to her. Well, what are we doing here? That it's awful. No matter if you disagree with somebody on every single thing, they don't deserve to die, and they don't deserve justification, your justification for why they should have died. Violence in general is not acceptable. And we should vehemently oppose any type of political violence, left, right, or center.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple things there I want to address, but first I want to hear from D. D, was this guy a warrior for free speech, or was he a warrior for hate speech?
The latter.
Absolutely.
He was monetized for what he was doing, and so in order to make more money, he was I guess brave to go out and do this, but nobody deserves to die for what they believe.
No.
But his ideas deserve to die because his ideas were wrong, and he did say horrible things about people, and he did encourage mayhem. I can show you the clips.
Absolutely.
Did do all of those things. And in the end, it was interesting how it was immediately Democrats who killed him. Of course, it had to be Democrats. And it turns out to be a groyper that killed him, a 22-year-old Mormon guy with a gun. Come on. There ain't no way that guy's on our side of the aisle. Okay?
He had a transgender girlfriend, so I'm not sure. There's still a lot coming out.
No, that's a lie.
He had a
transgender partner.
We do not know. We don't know either. We don't know any of these details. We don't know any of these details.
But to say something without having a fact of it is a lie.
But
yes. Well, anyway, but this is again.
But what does that have to do with it? How about the fact that maybe he was more on the side of Nick Fuentes than he was?
So what does that have to do with it too? If you said
because that makes him not a liberal. That makes him not a liberal. Okay, and it's the attacks on liberals that has infuriated so many people in this country. And do you think that this is, you don't think that this kind of thing has happened time and time again when a liberal has been hit and assassinated? You don't think that's happened from the
I'm
past?
not saying that it hasn't, but I'm
okay,
saying,
but to single out this incident, like all of a sudden we're glorifying assassinations and people being killed, is absolutely ridiculous.
No, but it's also the culture that has been created. Rutgers University. I wasn't going to bring this up because I wanted to not blame one side. Rutgers University did a study on assassination culture. I can link it in the chat for you. And of the respondents, 55% said it was at least somewhat justified. Of the respondents who identified center left of center, said 55% said it was at least somewhat justified to murder and assassinate Donald Trump. Okay, so the culture that is being created are on the left of leaders saying he should be taken out, punch him in the face. And I'm not saying that the right is completely innocent in all of this, but I'm saying that rhetoric allows people to think this way and say, because he disagrees with me, he doesn't deserve to live.
Okay, good. Now, all right, now it's my turn. I brought receipts. Go ahead, D.
Thank you. I would like to say that the biggest hypocrisy of all of this is with the flags lowered to half staff and all that stuff, is that I'd like to talk about Melissa and John Hortman, who were murdered, elected officials who were murdered by a right-winger in Minnesota 3 months ago. They had children too. They and nothing happened. They didn't even call the governor and say, we're really sorry for what happened to your elected officials. That is political violence. And
Republican Senator Mike Lee thought it was hilarious.
No vigils, no nothing.
Exactly.
So let's talk about. I want to talk about Kirk and hate speech. for a second, because I want to. A lot of the criticism from the left, and a lot of, I think, what the left is pointing out in the wake of this assassination isn't that he deserved it; it's that he cultivated this environment. So let's talk a little bit about the kind of things Charlie Kirk said about people, about black folks. Happening all the time in urban America. Prowling blacks go around for fun to target white people. That's a fact. It's happening more and more. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, oh, I hope he's qualified. Black women, they're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to be taken somewhat seriously. We made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act in 1964. The death penalty should be public, should be quick, should be televised. And I think at a certain age, it's an initiation. At what age should you start to see public executions? It says the Democrat Party supports everything that God hates. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage. Here's one. You might want to crack open that Bible of yours. It says in Leviticus 18, thou shalt lay with another man, shall be stoned to death. George Floyd, this guy was a scumbag. He deserved to die. The Great Replacement Theory. It's a reality. Just this year, 3.6 million foreigners will invade America. Guns. Here's this one. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment. He says, Jewish donors have been the number one funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies, cultural institutions, and nonprofits. This is a beast created by secular Jews, and now it's coming for Jews. Martin Luther King was awful. He's not a good person. He said one good thing he actually didn't believe. Muslims plan to conquer Europe by demographic replacement. Palestine doesn't exist, and transgender people are an abomination of God. The man cultivated a culture of dehumanization that says these other people are not fully human and don't deserve to live. So now, I don't think anybody on the left, at least like prominent electeds or anybody, are saying he deserved this. Are you finding some people online who say, yeah, he had it coming? Yeah, certainly. But, thoughts and prayers. Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, John Hoffman, one of these guys who was, shot in Minnesota earlier this summer, Gabby Giffords, Nancy Pelosi, Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, AOC. All of these people are out here saying political violence is unacceptable. Yet,
Scott, you're gonna love that I'm saying this, but I think Bernie Sanders had the best response to this. What happened here?
I actually don't have Bernie's response in here. What did he say?
Oh, it's very similar, but like if you go on his Twitter, Instagram, it's like a long drawn out, but it's very similar to what I said before. And it wasn't bringing in any of the, of what Charlie Kirk thought. Right. And I think that can kind of muddle the debate around political violence right now, because we can have a separate conversation on Charlie Kirk's values and beliefs. Right. But not try to conflate it with political violence and almost create that avenue of a justification for political violence, right? I don't think we should do that. But
I don't think that's what's happening. I don't think he's justifying political violence by
I don't
quoting
think so
what
either,
Charlie Kirk said.
Conflating the issues and talking about them in the same segment could allow that pathway for justification. And that's just my own
That's not what he's doing.
Right.
That's not what we're doing.
What it could lead to for different
we're trying to expose who the guy was, and that he shouldn't be memorialized and compared to Martin Luther King, and flags flown at half staff. Now you put on a talking point about Rutgers University, and 55% of the students said that Trump should be assassinated.
It was a study conducted by Rutgers University.
I'm just saying, you said 55%. Okay, 55%. Okay, and you've got a problem with that. Do you have a problem with what Kevin Roberts said? That we're in the second phase of the American Revolution, and it will remain bloodless as long as the left allows it to? What are your thoughts about that? Is
Of
that
course
not
I have a
political
problem with it,
violence?
but once again, it isn't one or the other. It's not like, oh, here's an issue that I raised.
I'm just saying,
this
you've
one's
got a
worse than what
talking
you were
point. We
saying.
do too. You've got a talking point and want to point out a study done, and 55% of the people, and you, maybe not
That's
you,
fact.
but
That is
conservatives act like this is a right-wing thing or a left-wing thing. This is not. The violence from the right has been decades in the making. We have been listening to it for years. And things like what Kevin Roberts and so many others get ignored by all of you. And then when a study comes out that 55% of the people think Trump should be assassinated, you have a hissy fit over it and got to bring it up.
Yeah, well, exactly.
But you ignore everything else.
Of it, because now you're having the hissy fit over the fact
You're damn right. You're damn right. Because again, this all comes down to Donald Trump.
What you said, and
this all comes down to Donald Trump. And that is why we will never get anywhere, which I want to. We have to have bipartisan government here. But until Donald Trump is out of the picture, we will not get there.
Period. Not the root cause of this problem. He is a symptom of the right-wing violent streak that has been in place this whole time.
It's not a right-wing violent streak. The left way, you can't. Once again, we can't play sides on this.
But Chris, listen.
Come on, man.
This assassination, the right is calling for blood before they.
Blood.
You're not calling for Democrat leaders to be killed like Charlie Kirk was. They're not,
absolutely.
There's not mobs and riots in the streets like after George Floyd. There's vigils. There's prayer. Okay.
Oh my God! What about January 6th, Chris?
I'm not providing any justification for January 6th, but it was different.
You just said there's no violence. Bullshit.
We're talking about a martyr here. George Floyd was
We are not talking about a martyr. We are talking about a racist, misogynistic prick.
Handled very differently.
Kurt, we are talking about a martyr.
He is a martyr.
We don't determine who their martyr gets to be. Okay.
That's true.
Immediately after this thing happened, I caught shit online because I said right here, like, I don't cry for Charlie Kirk. He cultivated this environment. I do not weep for him. I am sad for his kids that they were going to have to grow up without their father. I do not weep for Charlie Kirk or his political allies. What I worry about more than anything is that he is a martyr and that he is the American far right's new Horst Wessel. Y'all know who Horst Wessel is?
Architecture of all this violence stuff. Charlie's just a brick in the architecture that has been being built since 2015, 2016 or so. With the talk of
militia movement, the 70s, Camp of the Saints, to keep going. Yeah,
what's going on? It's just a brick. It's part of it. But unfortunately, I think it's been built up high enough now. If you can do that visualization with me, that now we're getting to where it's coming to an apex, and something's going to happen bad. This may be the start of that sort of thing, and this is not acceptable in our country. It's not acceptable in any party. It is not acceptable to go around killing people because you don't like them. And I don't care if it was somebody from the far left, and I don't care if it was somebody, which it appears to be, farther right than he was.
Right.
It doesn't matter. You don't.
Yes, it is, Chris. The evidence is coming out.
The shooter wasn't far right.
That is not true. That's not true. It is coming out that he was.
No, and that is
exactly. There's no evidence
of which side we don't know, and the right is out here calling for blood when we don't know. They wanted so bad for it to be like a transgender person or a leftist because they're just begging to go to war. They want our blood.
You want it to be some big gun rights activist at the same time.
It's football time, guys.
It sounds like it is football time.
It is. Listen, this is not the closing chapter here. This is the opening chapter. I worry about in an era of even more political violence. Please, I ask we all keep our head. I want to hear the Kaya Rychicks and Andrew Tates and Jesse Waters of the world saying the things that the Obamas and Schumers and AOCs of the world were saying this week and not what they were saying. let me give you all a chance to say goodbye. Maybe give yourself a shameless plug on the way out the door here. Kurt, where can the people find you?
Well, first off, thank you for having this conversation. Chris, regardless of how I come off to you, I respect your points of view, and I would love to work across the aisle with you, but I'm dead serious, bud. Until Trump's out of the picture, I don't see how that can be done. Okay, and that's how we truly feel. So my name is Hoosier Blue on social media. I've just started a podcast called Something to Say with Hoosier Blue. Find me there. I'm obviously a left socialist progressive liberal that does not like Donald Trump, and that's who I am. But that does not mean that I do not like everyone on the right. I want to work. We have to have a bipartisan government if this democracy is going to survive. Dictators and fascism will not allow us to grow. It will destroy our democracy. So thanks, Scott, for having me. I'm sure it's probably going to be another 6 months before you invite me back, but hey, that's
hey, I invite you every week, Kurt. The schedule works the way it works sometimes. Thank you very much, Chris. I really do want to thank you for being here today, especially. I asked you to be here specifically to make sure we had a conservative voice in here, and you have held your own very well. Where can the folks find you?
I'm private on most of my social media accounts, which I think is a good thing. But Christopher Machin, you can find me on LinkedIn too. If anybody wants a Republican to come on their podcast, I'm always open to it because I would rather to talk to people with different viewpoints than the ones with the same. So I can develop my own ideology at the same time. And Kurt, everything you said right back at you. Even after this intense debate, I'd still love to grab a beer and watch the football games with you this Sunday. So, this is what we should be doing. This is the kind of conversation we should be having. They can get heated, but at the end of the day, we can walk away and say, we're both Americans. Absolutely. We're both human beings. Let's move on together.
Absolutely. I have respect for you. And I don't mind the Jets. If you were a Patriots fan, it might have been a bit different.
I don't know if I would go on a podcast with the Patriots fan either. But,
these are the important things. These are, Dee, how about you? Where can the folks find you?
I love spirited discussion. Always. That's true.
Yes.
I am a dyed-in-the-wool yellow dog Democrat, and that is the way I'm always going to be. I was raised by Depression babies and World War II veterans, and if my father was alive today, he would be absolutely apoplectic about the things that are going on. I've got to tell you. So, having fought fascism, he often said, "This is why I went to war." So I think that we need to keep the fascists away from the doorstep and then duke it out as best we can.
And Dee has a dog named Bill.
Yes. It's gonna be a new podcast on Project Next.
A dog named Bill.
I consider myself lucky to have known both Dee's dad and Bill. So in the meantime, I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Those of you who have joined us live and been in the comments, I appreciate you so much. And for all you listening there on podcast form, I appreciate you too. Thanks for downloading us. Be sure to subscribe to Project Next and subscribe to Who's Left Online. But until next week, my name is Scott Aaron Rogers, and this has been Who's Left This Week. Love each other, Indiana.
Thank you.
Thank you.